Well, it is the end of another day, and I'm out here in the garage enjoying a cigar. Just want to thank you so much for joining me today. Also want to give a shout out to Heath, my neighbor. He joined me today for a cigar, and we had a really good time, good conversation. Got to hear about where he's come from and what his goals and aspirations are in life, and it was very exciting, very encouraging to me to hear that. Thank you so much for joining me. Tonight I wanted to share a little bit about something that stood out to me in the book by Senator Josh Hawley, Manhood, the Masculine Virtues America Needs, and specifically about fatherhood. He says, according to our modern day Epicureans, you are only an individual if you throw off constraints and choose your own life path. Discard whatever holds you back, family, religion, tradition, and do as you please. Satisfy yourself, or for a very peculiar version of yourself. It is a version you divorced from your history, your family, your home, and traditions. In short, from the things that help make us selves to begin with. The problem with the liberal Epicurean idea of being an individual is that it refuses to acknowledge the things that make us individuals, the things that give us a foundation for what we believe and what we prioritize. Fatherhood stands as an impediment to this misguided ethic. This is because fatherhood is a work of sacrifice. It is all about surrendering your life to someone else, giving someone else first priority. Fatherhood is the business of replacing yourself. Another way to think of this is this. Epicurean liberalism tells you to live for yourself moment by moment, the self of this instant. Fatherhood aims a man instead at the future, to ask what his children will need from him in those times to come, and how he can be ready for it. It directs him away from what he wants now in this moment toward who he might be many years in the future and what legacy he might leave behind. In a word, your life is no longer your own. This is often a hard fact for men to accept, young men in particular. It is one reason they delay marriage and fatherhood and difficult life choices generally. But it is a vital place to come to, the true beginning, the Bible suggests, of significance of a life that really matters. He shares a story about a former student of his who called him and asked what he should do in regards to changing jobs. And he didn't understand why he was having such a hard time with it. And ultimately, when he dug down, he found out that his wife wanted a kid, and he did not. He said he wasn't quite ready to have a kid. It would require so many changes. It would impose so many limits. In other words, he would no longer be able to live for himself. Fatherhood meant unwelcome responsibility. This is a common attitude encouraged by our Epicurean culture. And those who hold it are right about one thing. Fatherhood does constrain. It rewards, even requires self-denial rather than self-expression. It promotes service to others rather than personal choice. But those attitudes and decisions are not, contrary to what our culture may say, the death of individualism. They are the gateways to responsibility and lasting significance. And I couldn't agree more. You know, I get asked why I'm so passionate about connecting guys and really pouring into men. And for me, a big reason for that is because of my children. I look at the world around me and I am not satisfied. I don't know if you are, but I am not. I don't like what I see, and I want to pass on a different world to my children. And I know that I am only one person. I am too insignificant to change the world on my own. But what I do know is that there are men around me who can change the world together. And so I see the value in pouring into other men because I know that it will have a positive impact on my children. And that is extremely rewarding. I cannot tell you how happy it would make me to see a world where my children are adults, having children of their own, and they are continuing this self-sacrifice of pouring into others for the betterment of all. And so, you know, I think of scripture, and there's one in particular that I wanted to share with you tonight that really drives this home and why this is so important, especially if you are a Christian and you're a believer. This is where Jesus is talking about why this is so important. He says in Matthew 5:13, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. You know, I think about that. So for salt in particular, in olden days, we don't do this as much now. We don't have to, we have refrigeration, but salt was a preservative. If you had meat that you wanted to save, you couldn't eat all of the meat at one moment and you wanted to save it for later, you had to pack it with salt. And that would actually preserve the decay process from happening so that you could have the meat later. So when Jesus says that we're the salt, essentially what he's saying is that we are the preservative for our culture. We are the ones who are actually going to help the decay from happening, from just degrading down to complete chaos and absolute horrible, horrendous circumstances and situations. And the way that we stop that is by being the salt. So essentially, without us, society rots. That's a powerful image. I don't know if you can think about that, but that you have a potential to keep society from going down to absolute rottenness. And that's our call. And so I challenge you tonight in that is to look around you, and I'll steal something from Jordan Peterson. He says to aim low. And on the surface level that sounds ridiculous. Aim low, that's just a bench warmer is going to aim low. That's not somebody who's going to get out of the game. But what he means is that you aim for something that you can achieve. He uses examples of people who say that they are completely dissatisfied with their life. Nothing about their situation is good, and they can't do anything to change it. And he says, what's one thing that you could do that would make a difference? Don't think big, think small. And a lot of them will start with just making their bed or flossing their teeth. And I know it sounds weird to say that's going to be something that's going to set me on a path, but it really does. It sets you on a path of, hey, I'm making this incremental change. I'm going to do something small. I'm aiming low so that I can have a win. And as you do these small things to make incremental changes, incremental improvements, you will start to see the benefit of that over the long term and have tremendous results. But it starts by aiming at something that is within your reach. Now, that's not to say that you don't aim up. As he said, you have to push yourself, and it is definitely pushing yourself. And so maybe it's calling somebody, maybe it's sitting down and having a conversation with a buddy at work who, you've not really done anything with outside of work. You just come in, you show up, you don't really talk about anything significant. But maybe instead you say, hey, how are things going for you at home? What's going on in your life? What's going on in your world? Hey, I've seen that you are struggling with this, but I want you to know that you're doing a really good job. Encouraging them. That's something that's so simple to do, but how few times do we hear that in a day that we're doing a good job? So start small, start with something that you can do. Aim high, but also aim low. Aim up, but aim low. So hopefully you got something out of this. I appreciate you joining me. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing. If you like the content, please give me that thumbs up and share on social media. I really do appreciate it. If anything stood out to you tonight or anything that you want to talk about, please put that in the comments. And as always, the invitation is there. If you are in Lebanon and would like to join me, I would love to share a cigar with you and change the world.